Hello students, over the next few videos, we are going to discuss how the feeling of nationalism emerged in the minds and hearts of the Indian people. Before we go into the details, let us understand the meaning of the term nationalism. Nationalism is the feeling of love, patriotism and sacrifice which we have for our motherland. This feeling of nationalism did not emerge suddenly in the hearts of the Indian people. Rather, it was certain policies of the British government that indirectly contributed to the growth of nationalism. For the Indians, the concept of India being their motherland was an abstract one. For them, motherland did not mean the whole of India. It meant the kingdom or province in which they were born. For example, a person born in Jhansi had a more immediate connection with Jhansi than with India. The most important factor that contributed to the growing feeling of nationalism was British imperialism. It made the geographical, political, and administrative unification of the country possible. A centralized state structure, common laws, and currency system under British rule unified India and gave its citizens a national consciousness. The introduction of Western education as method of instruction in Indian schools and English as a medium of instruction also contributed to the rise of Indian nationalism. The Indian people now had a common official language for communication instead of numerous local or regional languages. Earlier, Persian was the official language of communication used by the Mughals. The introduction of telegraphs and railways in 1852 and 1853 also contributed to the rise of nationalism as it brought people closer to each other and allowed people to cover long distances. The railways joining various diverse parts of the landscape also gave Indians a national imagination by connecting diversified geographical regions. The first railway line was laid from Bombay to Thane in 1853. Initially, the Indians were very dissatisfied when the railways were introduced. They expected separate coaches reserved for them based on their castes and religions. However, this did not happen, and they felt this was deliberately done by the British to defile their religious purity. However, as Indians started traveling together on these trains, they started interacting with each other. They soon realized that their problems may have been different, but all of them were suffering from a common evil, that of the British government. The Britishers had always portrayed Indians as barbarians and defended themselves by saying that they had colonized India to civilize its people. Soon, several scholars and religious reformers started writing articles in which they emphasized the past glory and the rich heritage of India. They wrote about the golden age of the Guptas, Mauryas, and the Mughals, emphasizing that they had a rich syncretic history, culture, and tradition which had been destroyed by the coming of the British. The Asiatic Society of Bengal and scholars such as Max Muller, Monier Williams, Henry Thomas Colebrook, Mahadev Govind Ranade, Hari Prasad Shastri, R.G. Bhandarkar, and Rajendra Lal Mitra studied and published ancient Indian literature. They revealed to the people of India the brilliance of the Sanskrit language. They also inculcated in them a feeling of pride for their past and faith in their future. During this time, the Indus Valley civilization was discovered, which pushed back India's past to over 4,500 years, which further made Indians proud of their past. They realized that the British government was propagating wrong ideas about their country in order to suppress any rebellious thoughts. Religious and social reformers, namely Raja Ram Mohan Roy, Keshav Chandra Sen, Debendranath Tagore, Ishwar Chandra Vidyasagar, Swami Dayanand Saraswati, Ram Krishna Paramhans, Swami Vivekananda, Sister Nivedita, and others had left a tremendous influence on the people of India. They were also responsible for inspiring their countrymen to treasure the ideals of freedom and liberty. Several policies of the British government also angered the Indians. The British lowered the age of the ICS examination from 21 years to 19 years and decided to conduct the examination in England. Most Indians, therefore, could not qualify for the exams or even afford to appear in them. The Arms Act was passed in 1878, whereby it was declared that Indians could no longer possess arms. In the same year, 1878, the Vernacular Press Act was also enacted in an effort to silence those who were critical of the government. The act allowed the British to confiscate the assets of any newspaper, including its printing press. We learn about the racism of the British from the incident of the Ilbert Bill, which was introduced by the government in 1883. The bill provided for the trial of British or European persons by Indians and wanted equality between British and Indian judges in the country. Later, the bill was withdrawn because the British opposed it vehemently. According to them, Indians were inferior to the British and had no right to pass legal judgments on them. Till now, we have discussed the background in which nationalist sentiments developed in India. Keep these highlights in mind when we explore the nationalist movement in India in our next few videos. Till then, goodbye.